5 behaviors of a woman who doesn't care about you. You know the feeling I'm talking about. You're giving your best, your time, your energy, your love, but deep down you start to wonder, does she even value me? It's not always easy to admit, but sometimes the truth is staring us right in the face. Here's the thing. When someone truly values you, their actions reflect it. It's not just about words, it's about how they treat you, respect you, and show up for you. But when that value is missing, it manifests in subtle and not so subtle ways. In this video, we're breaking down 5 key behaviors of a woman who doesn't value you. These aren't just random quirks or occasional slip-ups. These are consistent patterns that reveal where you stand in her life. This isn't about blaming or shaming anyone. It's about empowering you to recognize your worth and make decisions that honor it. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear picture of what to watch for, so you can either address the problem or move towards something better. So if you've ever felt unappreciated, unheard, or undervalued in a relationship, stick around. This one's for you. Let's get started. Behavior 1. She constantly dismisses your feelings. Let's start with one of the most common and subtle signs of being undervalued, when she dismisses your feelings. Now, think about this. How often do you find yourself opening up, sharing something personal or meaningful, only to be met with indifference or outright dismissal? Maybe you've been vulnerable about something important to you, and instead of showing empathy, she says, "You're overthinking it," or "You're too sensitive." Maybe you've expressed your frustration about something in the relationship, and instead of acknowledging your perspective, she turns it into a joke or brushes it off entirely. Does this sound familiar? Why it matters. Dismissal of your feelings might seem small at first. After all, we all have off days where we might not respond perfectly to our partner. But when it happens repeatedly, it sends a clear message. Your emotions don't matter to her. And here's the problem. A relationship without emotional validation is like a car without fuel. It might look fine on the outside, but it won't go far. You should feel safe sharing your thoughts and feelings without fear of being shut down. Examples of this behavior. Let's break it down with a few real-life scenarios. You've had a tough day at work. You come home feeling drained, and all you want is a listening ear. But instead of asking how she can support you, she dismisses your struggles with, "Everyone has bad days. You'll be fine." You bring up an issue in the relationship. Maybe you feel like you've been spending less quality time together. When you bring it up, instead of discussing it, she rolls her eyes and says, "You're making a big deal out of nothing." You're vulnerable about your insecurities. Instead of supporting you, she invalidates your feelings by saying, "Why do you even feel like that? That's silly." These moments add up. Over time, they teach you to suppress your emotions because sharing them feels pointless. And let me tell you, no one deserves to feel that way. What it means. When someone dismisses your feelings, it reflects a lack of care and understanding. It shows that they're unwilling or able to prioritize your emotional needs. A woman who values you will want to understand what's going on in your world, even if she doesn't fully agree with or understand it. She'll take the time to listen, to ask questions, and to reassure you that your emotions are valid. What you can do. So what do you do when you notice this behavior? Start by addressing it directly. Let her know how her dismissiveness makes you feel. Something like, "When I share how I'm feeling and you dismiss it, it makes me feel unheard and unimportant. Can we work on being more supportive of each other?" If she's willing to change, that's a great sign. It shows she's willing to invest in the relationship. But if she reacts defensively or continues to dismiss your feelings, it might be time to reevaluate whether this relationship is truly serving you. Here's the bottom line. Your emotions are valid, your perspective matters, and if someone truly values you, they'll make sure you know that. Now that we've tackled this first behavior, let's move on to another major red flag, one that often goes hand in hand with dismissiveness. Behavior 2. She prioritizes her needs over yours. Always. Here's another behavior that can subtly drain the life out of a relationship. When her needs are always front and center, while yours are constantly pushed aside. Now don't get me wrong, everyone has moments when they focus on themselves. That's normal. But when it becomes a pattern where your needs are always secondary to hers, it's a clear sign she's not valuing you or the partnership. What does this look like? Let's break this down with a few examples. She expects you to adjust your schedule for her. Imagine you've made plans for a weekend with your friends, but she suddenly decides she wants to go out with you instead. She insists you cancel your plans to accommodate hers, but when the situation is reversed, she's too busy or already committed. Your opinions don't matter. Maybe you suggest a movie, a restaurant, or a vacation spot. She dismisses your choices without consideration and opts for what she wants instead. It's as if your preferences aren't even on her radar. She leans on you for support, but doesn't offer the same in return. You're always there when she needs a shoulder to cry on, but when you need emotional support, she's unavailable, or worse, uninterested. Does this sound familiar? If so, it's time to take a closer look at the balance in your relationship. Why it matters. A healthy relationship thrives on mutual respect and compromise. It's not about keeping score, but ensuring that both partners feel seen, heard, and valued. When her needs consistently overshadow yours, it creates an imbalance that leaves you feeling neglected and unimportant. Here's the key. Someone who values you will make an effort to meet you halfway. They'll recognize when you're going out of your way for them and reciprocate that effort, not because they have to, but because they want to. The subtle signs. Sometimes, this behavior isn't as blatant as it seems. It can manifest in smaller, less obvious ways that are just as damaging. She dismisses your feelings as less important than her own. She interrupts you constantly in conversations, steering the focus back to herself. She treats your time as less valuable. For example, making you wait or canceling plans last minute without a second thought. When this happens over and over again, it sends a clear message. Her needs matter more than yours. And trust me, you deserve better than that. How it impacts you. Over time, this one-sided dynamic can leave you feeling exhausted. You might start questioning your worth, wondering if you're asking for too much when, in reality, you're just asking for the basics: equality, respect, and mutual care. It's important to recognize that relationships are partnerships. Both people should feel valued and supported. If you're constantly bending over backward while she barely lifts a finger, it's not a partnership, it's a transaction. What you can do. If you notice this behavior, here's how you can address it. 1. Communicate your needs clearly. Sometimes people don't realize they're being self-centered. A simple conversation can go a long way. I feel like we've been prioritizing your needs a lot lately, and I'd love for us to find more balance in our relationship. 2. Set boundaries. Make it clear that your time, energy, and preferences matter too. For instance, I've been canceling my plans often to accommodate yours, and I need us to respect each other's schedules moving forward. 3. Evaluate her response. Does she take accountability and show a willingness to change? Or does she become defensive and dismissive? Her reaction will tell you a lot about how much she values you. Remember this. A relationship should be a two-way street, not a one-man show where you're constantly the one giving. Someone who values you will recognize your efforts and make an equal investment in the partnership. If you're not feeling that balance, it's okay to reassess whether this relationship is truly right for you. You deserve someone who treats you as a priority, not an afterthought. Behavior 3. She rarely appreciates your efforts. Let's talk about effort, yours to be exact. Relationships thrive when both partners recognize and value what the other brings to the table. But what happens when your efforts go unnoticed, unacknowledged, or worse, criticized? One of the most telling signs that a woman doesn't value you is when she rarely shows gratitude for the things you do. Whether it's the big gestures or the little acts of kindness, if she treats them as expected or insignificant, it's a clear indicator of how much or how little she values you. What does this look like? Here are some examples that might hit close to home. You plan a thoughtful date. You spend time organizing a fun outing or a romantic evening, only for her to barely react or complain about something trivial. You surprise her with a gift. Maybe you remembered something she mentioned in passing and surprised her with it. Instead of being touched, she brushes it off with, "Oh, thanks," without even looking up from her phone. You go out of your way to help her. You rearrange your schedule to support her or solve a problem she's dealing with, but instead of appreciation, you get criticism. Why didn't you do it this way? These moments might seem small in isolation, but over time, they can make you feel like your efforts are worthless, and that's not okay. Why it matters. Appreciation is the glue that holds relationships together. It's not just about saying thank you. It's about recognizing and valuing the energy, time, and thought your partner puts into the relationship. When appreciation is absent, it creates a one-sided dynamic where you're constantly giving and she's just taking. This imbalance not only drains you emotionally, but also sends a clear message. She doesn't see or value the effort you're putting in. The subtle signs. Sometimes this behavior isn't as blatant as outright criticism. It can show up in more subtle ways, like, she never reciprocates. You're always the one planning dates, making sacrifices, or initiating affection, while she rarely does the same. She focuses on your mistakes. Instead of acknowledging what you did right, she zeroes in on what you could have done better. She treats your effort as an obligation. It's as if she expects you to do everything without ever considering your feelings or contributions. When this happens consistently, it can leave you questioning whether you're even valued in the relationship. How it impacts you. Over time, the lack of appreciation can lead to resentment. You start to feel like no matter what you do, it's never enough. And honestly, that's a heartbreaking place to be. You deserve to be with someone who sees your effort and values it, not someone who takes it for granted. What you can do. If you're feeling unappreciated, it's important to address the issue sooner rather than later. Here's how. 1. Communicate your feelings. Be honest about how her lack of appreciation is affecting you. For example, I've been putting a lot of effort into making things special for us, and I feel like it's not being acknowledged. Can we talk about that? 2. Set expectations. Let her know that you value mutual effort and appreciation in a relationship. For example, I believe relationships work best when both people put in effort and acknowledge each other's contributions. What do you think? 3. Take note of her response. If she shows a willingness to change and starts appreciating you more, that's a great sign. But if she gets defensive or continues to dismiss your feelings, it's a red flag that her lack of appreciation might be a deeper issue. Remember this. Appreciation is a basic building block of any healthy relationship. When someone values you, they won't let your efforts go unnoticed. They'll celebrate the little things you do and reciprocate in their own way. If you're not feeling that appreciation, it's okay to take a step back and reevaluate. You deserve to be with someone who sees and cherishes the effort you put in, someone who makes you feel valued every single day. Behavior 4. She disrespects your boundaries. Let's get real about something that's absolutely crucial in any healthy relationship: boundaries. Boundaries are the invisible lines that define your personal space, your values, and your limits. They are not about keeping someone out. They're about protecting your mental, emotional, and sometimes even physical well-being. But what happens when she repeatedly crosses those lines? When she disrespects your boundaries, it's not just an issue of bad behavior. It's a lack of respect for you as a person. What does this look like? Disrespecting boundaries can show up in many ways. Here are a few examples. She doesn't respect your need for space. Imagine you've had a long day and just need a little time to recharge. Instead of understanding, she takes it personally and accuses you of not caring or ignoring her. She invades your privacy. Maybe she checks your phone without permission or preys into personal matters you've told her you're not ready to share. Trust is a two-way street, and violating your privacy is a clear sign she doesn't respect you. She pressures you into doing things you're uncomfortable with. Whether it's making big life decisions, changing your lifestyle, or engaging in activities you're not okay with, she doesn't take no for an answer and often guilt trips you into compliance. When someone truly values you, they honor your boundaries because they understand they're an essential part of who you are. When someone doesn't value you, those boundaries become optional in their eyes. Why it matters. Boundaries are a way of saying, this is what I need to feel safe, respected, and loved. When those boundaries are crossed, it's not just an inconvenience, it's a sign of disregard for your emotional and personal well-being. A woman who values you will listen when you express your boundaries, even if she doesn't fully understand them. She'll respect your need for space, privacy, and autonomy because she cares about your happiness and the health of the relationship. But when she ignores or undermines those boundaries, it's a way of saying, my needs and desires matter more than yours. Subtle signs of boundary crossing. Not all violations are obvious. Sometimes they're subtle and easy to overlook until they pile up. Watch for signs like disregarding your time. She's always late or cancels plans last minute, assuming you'll just deal with it. Mocking your boundaries. If you set a limit, she might laugh it off or say, you're being dramatic. Testing your limits. She might do small things that go against your wishes just to see how you'll react, making it harder for you to stand firm. These behaviors might seem harmless at first, but they're clear indications of a lack of respect for your boundaries and ultimately for you. How it impacts you. When your boundaries are consistently disrespected, it can leave you feeling powerless. You might start questioning whether your needs are even valid. Over time, this can lead to a loss of confidence and a sense of imbalance in the relationship. The truth is, you can't build a healthy connection with someone who refuses to respect the lines you've drawn for your well-being. What you can do. If you notice this behavior, it's essential to address it directly and assertively. Here's how. 1. Communicate your boundaries clearly. Don't assume she knows where the line is. Be upfront and specific. For example, I really value my privacy, and it makes me uncomfortable when you check my phone without asking. 2. Reinforce your boundaries. If she crosses the line, remind her why that boundary exists. For example, I've mentioned before that I need time to recharge after a long day. I'd appreciate it if you could give me that space. 3. Hold her accountable. If she continues to disrespect your boundaries despite multiple conversations, it's time to evaluate whether she truly values you or the relationship. Remember this: boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges to healthier relationships. When someone respects your boundaries, it shows they respect you. But when they cross them, especially after you've made them clear, it's a red flag you can't afford to ignore. You deserve a partner who honors your limits and works with you to create a space where both of you can thrive. If that's not what you're getting, it's okay to step back and reassess whether this relationship is truly serving you. Behavior 5. She rarely invests in the relationship. Let's get into one of the most telling signs that a woman doesn't value you. She puts in little to no effort to maintain or grow the relationship. It's like you're the one doing all the heavy lifting while she's just along for the ride. Sound familiar? A healthy relationship is like a partnership where both people are actively working to make it thrive. But when you're constantly giving, planning, initiating, and problem solving, and she's doing almost nothing in return, it's not a partnership, it's a one-sided arrangement. What does this look like? Lack of investment can show up in many ways, some obvious and others more subtle. Let's break it down. She never initiates plans. You're always the one reaching out, scheduling dates, or planning quality time together. If you didn't put in the effort, would you even see each other? She doesn't show interest in your life. When was the last time she asked you about your goals, passions, or how your day went? If she rarely checks in or shows curiosity about your world, it's a sign she's not invested in truly knowing you. She avoids addressing problems. Every couple faces challenges, but if she refuses to have serious conversations or work through issues, it shows she's not interested in making things better. Instead, she might sweep problems under the rug or act like everything's fine while you're left feeling unsettled. These patterns don't just make you feel undervalued. They can also lead to resentment and frustration as you realize you're carrying the emotional and practical weight of the relationship alone. Why it matters. Relationships are a two-way street. When someone values you, they'll make an effort to contribute to the partnership. They'll want to connect with you, support you, and create memories together. When someone doesn't invest, it's a sign they're either taking you for granted or aren't as committed as you are. Either way, it leaves you feeling unimportant and unappreciated. Subtle signs of lack of investment. Sometimes the signs of a lack of effort aren't glaringly obvious. Here are some smaller but equally telling behaviors. She rarely compliments or encourages you. A partner who values you will lift you up, not leave you wondering if they even notice your strengths. She's glued to her phone when you're together. If she's more interested in social media than in spending quality time with you, it's a sign she's not fully present or engaged. She avoids meaningful conversations. Small talk is fine, but if she shies away from deeper discussions about the relationship or your future together, it suggests she's not emotionally invested. How it impacts you. When you're the only one investing in the relationship, it can leave you feeling drained and unfulfilled. You might start to wonder if your efforts even matter, or worse, if you're the only one who cares. This imbalance can also create an unhealthy dynamic where you're constantly chasing her approval or attention while neglecting your own needs. Over time, it's a recipe for burnout and self-doubt. What you can do. If you're noticing this behavior, it's essential to address it and set some expectations. Here's how you can approach the situation. Start the conversation. Let her know how you're feeling and what you've observed. For example, I feel like I'm putting in a lot of effort to keep our relationship strong, and I'd love to see more from both of us to make it even better. Ask for her perspective. Sometimes people don't realize they're not contributing. Ask her how she feels about the relationship and what she thinks could improve. Set clear expectations. Be specific about what you need from her. For example, it would mean a lot to me if you could plan our next date or take the lead on something fun for us to do together. Evaluate her response. Pay attention to how she reacts. If she's willing to step up and show more effort, it's a positive sign that she values the relationship and wants to make it work. However, if she becomes defensive, dismissive, or continues to show little interest, it's a red flag that her lack of investment is deeper than just a bad habit. It could be a sign that she's not fully committed or doesn't value you as much as she should. Remember this: you deserve a relationship where both partners are equally invested. It's not about grand gestures or keeping score. It's about showing up for each other consistently and wholeheartedly. If you're feeling like you're the only one putting in the effort, take a step back and ask yourself, is this the kind of dynamic you want long term? A partner who truly values you will show it through their actions, not just their words. Final thought. At the end of the day, knowing your worth is the most powerful thing you can do for yourself. You're not just someone's convenience, emotional crutch, or afterthought. You're a person who deserves love, respect, and appreciation. Life is too short to spend it with someone who doesn't value you. Recognizing these behaviors is not about blaming her or finding faults. It's about taking charge of your happiness and ensuring you're in a relationship that lifts you up, not tears you down. Remember, the right person will value you not just for what you do, but for who you are. They'll celebrate your strengths, support your growth, and make you feel like the incredible person you are. So if you're feeling unappreciated, unheard, or unsupported, take this as your sign to reflect, reassess, and make decisions that honor your worth. You've got this. Thank you for watching, and if this content resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more topics like this. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your experiences and insights. Until next time, take care of yourself, and remember, you are worth it.